I am very excited to introduce now our next speaker, Rabbi Benji Elson. I have to tell you, I had the opportunity to meet the rabbi during Passover at the Moshav Country Fair. I was there with a Netilat stand and he was right next to me. And I purchased his book, Dance of the Omar. And I have to just say, I absolutely love this. Of course, we're always counting down on the Omer. Every year, the Omer comes around, but I never was able to understand its significance as much as I understood it this year because of this incredible book. It's truly amazing. And I am very excited to be welcoming Rabbi Benji Elson. He's a clinical psychotherapist, a Jewish environmental educator, a musician, a Torah educator, and author of the widely popular book, Dance of the Omer, a step-by-step guide to the transformational journey of Sefirat HaOmer. I really highly recommend this book. It's spectacular. And Benji has taught and led transformative experiences around the world, including cities across the US, Israel, Canada, Mexico, Turkey, and India. And he's a senior psychotherapist and staff member at Genesis Jerusalem, a premier mental health and addiction treatment center in Jerusalem. And he also sees clients in his private practice in Jerusalem, where he specializes in the treatment of trauma, anxiety, and depression. Until COVID hit the world and halted international travel, Benji also served as the educational director of Shevet Haaretz, an Israeli-based organization that connects Jews back to the earth and the Torah's forgotten teachings about the importance of living in balance, just like we were speaking about, living in balance with Hashem's creation, its resources, and its creatures. And with Shevet Haaretz, Benji leads transformational expeditions into the deep desert and jungles of the world to help participants encounter and discover the beauty in their lives, Torah, Judaism, other ancient indigenous communities and cultures, and the entire world. He also teaches a weekly shiur in Jerusalem about all things related to healing, spirituality, time, and the cycle of the Jewish calendar. I'm going to be placing a link to check out his book in just a moment. And I'm so excited to invite Rabbi Benji Elson, who's going to be speaking to us about Netilat Yadayim, Lag Baomer, Rabbi Shimon, and the mystical experience. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Orly. It's a real pleasure and privilege to be here. And it's an amazing, humbling privilege to follow Rav Gerzi, to follow you. Rav Gerzi gave me a lot of koach before the first publication of the book. And real koach, we're talking about koach. So I thank you for that also. And Orly, you were talking about where we met, and we had our booths at the Moshav Fair next to each other, and I was very inspired by all the people that were coming over to your booth and just how excited and animated you were about this, and the cups are just amazingly beautiful. So really yasher koach, and much success to you in this and all of your amazing projects that you do. Okay, so we are a few days before Lag Baomer, and we're talking about Lag Baomer, we're talking about washing our hands. And as Orly said, I wrote this book, Dance of the Omer. It's a step-by-step guide to self-transformation through Sfirat Omer, through the Sfirot. And I thought to start, I would, because the book, I spent hours, picking every word in the book. So it's said a lot better than I could say right now. So I'm going to start by reading the section of Lag Baomer, and I think it really helps to frame Lag Baomer and in the connection to the mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim, if that is okay with everybody. Okay. How do I make this smaller? Okay. The academic is obsessed with books, the rationalist obsessed with facts, and the mystic obsessed with experience. This euphemism wonderfully describes the teachings of Kabbalah, the Zohar, and of course, its current most popular expression, Chassidut. Even more so, it describes the experience of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son as they spent 13 years buried neck deep in the earth without any books, studying and meditating on the divine experience and the human experience. So we're getting up to Lag Baomer, And let's talk about the mystical experience for a little bit. The stance of the mystic is Hineni. Here I am, fully, in whatever happens. And to be fully here, to be fully present, requires that at every moment you are willing to be surprised. You're willing to be radically amazed. Because without a willingness to be surprised, one risks entering into an encounter with reality blinded by the lenses of one's facts, expectations, or preconceived notions, which in turn disables one from seeing that which is actually unfolding right in front of them. The willingness to be surprised and overcome with surprise, on the other hand, creates room for the human experience, or a truly human experience. One of the ways that we practice entering into the state on Lag Baomer is gazing at the fires that we have on Lag Baomer. It's not just a cute thing that we do. We've been sitting around fires for thousands of years for a reason. So what is that reason? One of the reasons, perhaps, is that, so why do flames move us so much? Why is it that for thousands of years we've sat around bonfires on this holiday and other special occasions? More than that, why for thousands of years have humans been able to look into the flames so mesmerized that they're not able to avert their eyes, right? How many of us have sat by a bonfire and just stared for hours and hours and hours, just looking at the flames? So there's, of course, very wonderful popular teachings about flames. And on a basic level, when you look at a flame, you really look, every moment you're surprised. You don't know where the flame is going to go. You don't know what it's going to do next. You don't know which direction it's going to dance in the next moment, how it's going to express themselves. On a deeper level, when we look at the flames, we're actually, we find camaraderie with the flames, because we feel that we're actually looking at ourselves. On an intuitive level, we feel that we're looking at the human experience and perhaps even at our souls, because a flame and the human soul, they act in mirroring ways, right? So the flame is always constantly trying to escape from the bonfire, from the wick, or from, right? It wants to go wherever it wants to go. But the irony is that it's trying to escape the very thing that's giving it life. It's trying to escape the wick. It's trying to escape the wood. It's a wild paradox. And the same thing is true with us, that our souls want to constantly fly this way and that way. We want to do everything. We want to do every project. We want to be everything that we can be in the world. And when we do that, we're actually disconnecting sometimes from our bodies, from the thing that is actually sustaining us and keeping us alive. And so when we look at the flame, we're kind of watching ourselves, and we're mesmerized by this. We're just captivated. We look for hours and hours and hours. So what does this have to do with Lag Baomer? So this ironic dance is precisely the energy of Hod Shebahod, which is the Kabbalistic spherotic energy of Lag Baomer. And it's also connected to the unique quality of what it means to be human. The Talmud in Shabbat in 88b tells us that when Moshe went up to the mountain to prepare the Torah, the angels had a rebellion. They argued with Hashem. They said, how can you give the Torah, which you've been guarding for 974 generations, from even before the world was created, to some mere flesh and blood mortals? So Hashem basically said, Moshe, you got to take this one. Grasp onto my throne of glory, my throne of Hod, and make your case. Tneh hodacha ala shamayim. Explain your Hod to the heavens. Explain to them what makes you uniquely worthy to receive the Torah. Explain to them that your Hod is a match for mine, and therefore that the Torah belongs on earth. And so this famous story continues, right? And Moshe goes on to explain all about the human experience, about, do you have, right, everyone, I don't know, everyone's familiar, many people are familiar, that do you have parents that you don't get along with? Do you want to steal? Do you want to, all these things? It goes on and talks about the the ugliness of being human, about the human experience and all of its messiness and all of its shortcomings. And ultimately, of course, thank God, he convinces the angels and they say, okay, you can take the Torah down. So this story begs a lot of questions, right? First of all, why do the angels have a problem with this? How did Moshe convince them? What does Hod have to do with any of this? So this question of the angels actually didn't start here. The questions of the angels was from the first moments of the creation of human beings. When the Torah says that Hashem says Naseh Adam, and the Midrash says that it means that Hashem went to the angels and asked their advice, right? Hey, should we make these human beings? And the angels said, what do you mean? They're going to mess everything up. They're messy. And so 26 generations later, right? There's Hashem basically says, I guess kind of ignores the question for 26 generations. And then finally Moshe goes up on the mountain. And Hashem says, Moshe, explain to the angels what being human is all about. And so Moshe explains the human experience and all of its glory and achievements and honor and challenges and growth and strife and evolution, and ultimately about the evil inclination, about the human shadow side, which is, of course, the main component in our free choice and our free will. And that's exactly what the angels couldn't understand, because angels are programs. And a program can't understand something that is outside of its program. And that is specifically what makes us human, that we have choice, and that choice comes from the evil inclination, from that messiness, from being able to mess up, from being able to make mistakes. And that's precisely the whole point of creation, that we individuate, that we evolve, that we choose, that we make choices. Reality in Hashem doesn't want a bunch of mindless clones. Hashem wants conscious, choice-wielding, individuated identities who struggle with their evil inclination and their shadow sides. Why? Because Hashem wants to be in co-creative partnership with Hashem's creation, and to do that we need all of these things. So just like the flames, unfortunately we often try to escape this reality, right? Just like the flames, we try to escape our bodies, our humanness, our worldly concerns, and try to escape it. We try to escape our challenges, our struggles, our undesired thoughts, all of these things. But to be really human, what Rav Gerzi was talking about integrating, part of this integration is to really experience fully, experience life fully, and to make the conscious choice to be human. And this is really the stance of the mystic, as we talked about in the beginning. This is the stance of Hineni. I am here. I am showing up however I am, with everything that I am, with all of the messiness, with all of the struggles, with all of the failings. And when I'm able to do that, because I'm able to acknowledge that in myself, I'm also able to be surprised, to be a mystic, to step fully into experience. And this is exactly what we're celebrating on Lag Baomer. This is exactly what Rabbi Shimon brought down to the world. Why? Because we're actually on Lag Baomer, we're actually not celebrating the first 13 years that he's in the cave, right? So the story goes in Shabbat, on the 33rd page in the Masechet Shabbat, it tells us this story. And it says that he went into the cave and they meditated for 13 years, and they came out and they were on such a otherworldly realm and dimension that they came up and they started burning up the world. Their fire came out of their eyes, or whatever they saw, fire came down and burnt up the world. And Hashem, Bat Kol, a heavenly echo, came down and reverberated around them and said, "Hey, I didn't bring you out of the cave so that you can burn my world. Get back into the cave." And so the story goes that they went back into the cave for another 12 months, and they came out, and they came out and they met this old Jew who was running with 2 sticks of myrtle in his hands. So, someone that was illiterate, someone that knew no Torah. and they ask, why are you carrying these myrtles? And he says, oh, because one is for Shamor, connected to Shabbat, and one is for Zachor, connected to Shabbat. And they're amazed, right? They're just blown away by this simple person. So really, everything that we're celebrating on Lag Baomer is not getting out, and everything that the Zohar is, and everything that Kabbalah is, and everything that being a mystic is about, is not getting out of this world, but is really being in this world and being able. When you're in this world, you're able to be surprised. If you're out of this world, you can't be surprised. When you're in this world, fully experiencing life, you're able to be surprised. And this is exactly the 33rd day of the Omer, which is Lag Baomer. On the other side of this kind of transition, we have 17 days left of the Omer. And 17, of course, is the gematria of Tov. And the Midrash says that the first time we see Tov, not the first time, but what is Tov? Tov is the good inclination. And what is Tov Me'od? Tov Me'od is the evil inclination. And so after we have this experience of Lag Baomer, of the receiving the Torah of Kabbalah, of sitting around bonfires, of waking up to the human experience, of being surprised, of getting in touch with the messiness of being human, we can then transition into the last 17 days, into the days of Tov, into the days of Hod, because this is where the real work comes, right? We're really getting into connection with our evil inclination. And this is exactly what Netilat Yadayim is about. It's about a lot of things, but maybe one small thought is that the mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim is a deep recognition, on one hand, that we can purify our hands, right? We can sanctify and uplift our hands, but on the other side of that is a deep acknowledgement and recognition that we are messy, that our hands can get dirty, that we aren't perfect, that we're human. And so, we do this when we wake up, we do this after we go to the bathroom, we do this before we eat, because we realize that we're in the world and life is messy and we're human, and thank God we're human. And so that's what I think, and on some level, that's what the mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim is teaching us every time we do it. It's both sides of the coin. There's an amazing one of my favorite teachings from the Kutei Moran, written by Rabbi Nachman. He speaks. It's a profound Torah. So I'm just going to read his words, because it's good to read the words. So in Torah 91 of Likutei Moran, he's talking about Moshe, and he's talking about that the pasuk says when they're at war with Amalek, that I think when I was preparing for Rav Lazer Brody shared the same Torah in a very different way a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago or something. But the pasuk says, very interesting, right? That we all know that Moshe raised his hands and kept his hands up for the whole day, and whenever his hands were up, the Jews started winning, and whenever his hands got heavy, the Jews would start losing. But the Torah, when it talks about this, uses a very interesting word. It says, "Vayhi yadav Ammuna ad ba hashemesh," that his hands were faith, or faithful. His hands were Ammuna, his hands were faith. So Rabbi Nachman says, "Ki yesh kama minei Ammuna," that there are several types of Ammuna. Yesh Ammuna shehu rak balev. There's a type of Ammuna that is only in the heart, or only in the mind, right? That we have thoughts of Ammuna. It's in our thoughts. Vayikar, but the essence of it, the main principle is shetzarich liyot adam Ammuna kol kach she'it pashet b'chol ha'ivarim. That the Ammuna has to be so strong, so palpable, that it spreads to all of a person's limbs, that it spreads through the body. K'moshe muva b'kitvei Hari, as the Hari writes, right? We're learning some Torah from from the Ari, who was the Kabbalah, right? Maybe I'll say it in a minute. Actually, I'll say it right now. Right. So what is the kind of the process of Kabbalah? And a way that I really like thinking about it is that 2,000 years ago, the Rabbi Shimon came and said, with the Zohar, and came and said, here's a map of the heavens, right? Here's how this thing works. Here how it connects over here. 1,500 years later, the Ari came and says, here's a ladder on how to get to the heavens, right? Here's what you need to do to reach the heavens. And then a few hundred years later, the Baal Shem Tov came and says, forget about the ladder. Heavens is right here on earth. Heavens is here. So we're learning within this context. So the Ari says, Rabbi Nachman's quoting, the Ari says, "Shetzarich lagbia yadav b'shad netilat yadayim neged harosh." That when a person is washing their hands for netilat yadayim, they have to, after they wash, they have to raise their hands to the height of their head, kedei lekabel hakdusha, in order for the kedusha to come down, in order to receive the kedusha. Nimsa, so Rabbi Nachman says, and we see right here, shetzarich lazeh Ammuna b'yadayim, that a person needs to have faith in their hands. Le'amin shemachmat shemagbia yadav, to believe that because he's raised his hands or she's raised her hands, keneged harosh mekabel kedusha, that because of the raising of the hands, the kedusha was received. And so we're talking about experience, and Rav Gerzi before was talking about integration, which I think is, you can't integrate unless you experience. And I think what Rabbi Nachman here is saying is telling us to really experience the washing of the hands, to the movements, the feel of the water, the sound of the water, all of these things that it's all tactile. And when you really experience it and feel the body motions and everything involved, this is a good somatic experiencing Torah. I use a lot of somatic experiencing mind-body connections in my therapy practice. That when this can only happen, you can only have this Ammuna in your hands if you're in the experience. If you're just like, wandering, your mind's wandering, then of course you're not gonna have the Ammuna, that you're not gonna feel the kedusha coming into your hands. You need to really be in the experience itself. So at least that's what I hear Rabbi Nachman saying. I don't know if you meant all of that, but that's what I hear him saying. So give us all a bracha, all of the people that are here, and anyone that's going to be watching in the future, that we really celebrate being human, right? This is, being human is what Moshe finally, after 26 generations, answered back to the first angels that were having issue with humans being created at all. And that it's really, and that's our hod, and our getting in touch with our evil inclination in an appropriate way, right? There's also connected to that in two different places, in Sukkah, and I think also in Menachot, that it says that if the Yetzer Hara comes and attacks you, right, what should you do? So it says, it's usually translated as you should drag the Yetzer Hara to the base medrash, but I like it actually uses the word kind of draw, mashoch. You should draw, you should go and take the Yetzer Hara by the hand, go to the base medrash, which is a place of conversations, sit down, have a dialogue, really get to know yourself, really get to know all the parts of yourself, really be in deep connection to all the parts of yourself and everything that it means to be human. So give us a bracha that we can do that, and through the Mitzvah of Netillah and really fully experiencing it every as often as we can when we do it, that we should be able to receive the kedusha, and then through that, the kedusha that's in our hands, we can then, we go and touch someone else's hands, right? If the kedusha's in our hands, just like Tuma can be shared, kedusha can also be shared. And I give us a bracha that in very soon, when we enter into Lag Baomer and then onto the other side of Lag Baomer, into the last 17 days, that we can really fully become our better, truer selves, become truly what it means to be human, emanations and in the image of God. And
Thank you so much, Rabbi. I so much appreciate your words. I have to say that both you and Reb Gerzi, you've touched upon something so important here, this concept of the messiness of being a human, which means we do make mistakes, we falter. But the idea is that we always have the ability to get back up, especially during this time of the Omer, right? We're counting up, right? Sometimes as we're going up that rung of our ladder to better ourselves, to become that perfect vision of who we are, sometimes we can stumble and we could fall down a rung or so. But the idea is not to give up, to continue to push forward. And it really connects so much to what you were just saying with Netilat, right? That when we're doing Netilat Yadayim, and we do it so many times really throughout the day, if we're doing it properly, we do it so many times throughout the day, it's a reminder of that messiness. But more than that, and you connected it also to the concept of the Yetzer Hara, because what is the Yetzer Hara? The Yetzer Hara isn't the inclination inside you telling you to do something wrong. It's actually the inclination inside of you telling you that you're not worth doing something right. Because when we make mistakes, we actually become our greatest critics. That the biggest challenge of the Yetzer Hara is telling us, you made so many mistakes. You can't do this mitzvah. Who do you think you are to do this mitzvah? Just give up. You've already faltered. You've already stumbled. You fell down. You were doing things perfectly for several days, but you forgot. You don't go back to it. You see, look at you. You can't get anything right. That's the Yetzer Hara telling us that we're not good enough. But when we actually are doing Netilat Yadayim, it's funny, and this is the reason why it's connected to Nechoshet, right? Hashem, when he chose the material for the Kohanim to wash their hands with, the Kohanim, okay, that are about to go into the Bet HaMikdash to do Avodat HaKodesh. You know what material he chose? He didn't choose gold and he didn't choose silver. He chose Nechoshet. He chose copper. You know why? In the Zohar, it says that Nechoshet is connected to Rachamim, mercy. We have to do Netilah so many times throughout the day, really, if we're doing Netilah properly, right? That when we're coming to sit to do Netilah, just like Rabbi Benji said, if we actually allow ourselves to be in the experience, to really be in the experience, not to just okay, I got to wash my hands, I have to run to the thing, I got to go to the next. No, you're about to engage in an incredible mitzvah that is known to bring bracha and abundance into your life. But more than anything, why does it have the capacity to help you really go to war with your Yetzer Hara? The part inside of you that tells you you're not worth it, you made too many mistakes, just give up. Because when you pour the water, and why did it come from copper, the kior? Mercy, right? When a person is asking for mercy, asking for rachamim, they say, a person is begging, they're begging, please, right? They pull up their hands, they're begging, please. Hashem is saying, don't you worry. You made a mistake. You feel that you're messy. You're not perfect. You're human. I love you. You made a mistake. I still love you. And I'm going to continue to love you. And if you need many reminders, you're doing the Netilat Yadayim throughout the day. Just remember mercy. You're pouring mercy on your hands. Hashem is giving a continuous mercy so that we don't give up on ourselves. So I want to thank you because, what you shared connected that so beautifully for me in my mind. I was just thinking, wow, we're putting this on our hands to fight against Yetzer Hara, to remove this messiness that Hashem is saying to us. Don't you worry that you made mistakes. You keep on going. You keep at it. I believe in you. I'm betting on you. I know you could do it. That is the greatest thing that we can feel as we're climbing up that rung to become the best version of ourselves. So thank you so much, Rabbi, for sharing.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure to be here. Thank you.